He's got 5 of the messiest exits in the history of football. The Raiders, Tennessee, the tarmac, a.k.a. USC, Saban telling him to leave before the national championship game at Alabama when he was just an offensive coordinator, and now Ole Miss. The credibility issue thing is real. Why would you commit to him if he's not going to be committed to you? And is that a fair line? Probably with this move. And yet, listen, if he wants to do this, more power to him. If this is the decision he wants to make for he and his family, more power to him. Doesn't mean there's not consequences, and it doesn't make it any less selfish, because it is. He's the play caller, and he's leaving those players in the wind. And the hard part here is that, they're going to try to paint Ole Miss as the bad guy by saying that, well, I wanted to coach the playoff, but Ole Miss wouldn't let me coach the playoff. Well, of course, Ole Miss is not going to let you coach the playoff. That's ridiculous.
Correct! Way to pile it on, Joel Klatt. No way am I giving Lane Kiffin the benefit of the doubt there. You reap what you sow. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Joel Klatt ripping Lane Kiffin for having a messy exit at Ole Miss. Remember, this is now the 5th time in Lane Kiffin's coaching career that he has had a messy exit. Clearly, when a pattern of behavior starts to show, it is intentional. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Should Lane Kiffin be roasted more for how he left Ole Miss? I believe so. I believe Lane Kiffin should be getting ridiculed by the media and every single outlet. There really should be no debate as to how to handle the Lane Kiffin exit. I don't believe Lane Kiffin should get a lot of sympathy. I know a lot of Lane Kiffin defenders. They're going to talk about how the college football calendar is totally messed up, and I absolutely understand that sentiment. However, that doesn't make Lane Kiffin a victim. And here's the thing with Lane Kiffin. How many conference championships has this man won in Power 4 play? To answer that question, it's 0. Lane Kiffin has never been anywhere near winning a national championship. Here's the problem though. LSU is paying Lane Kiffin as if he is a national championship caliber head coach. In fact, one could arguably say that Lane Kiffin is less accomplished than Brian Kelly, the guy that they just fired at LSU. Lane Kiffin has to understand that expectations in Baton Rouge are going to be incredibly high. Just going to be good enough is not going to cut it. You have to be great at LSU. 3 of the last 4 coaches at LSU have won a national championship. Has Lane Kiffin proven that he can win a national championship at LSU or at any place for the matter? Absolutely not. And his defenders are talking about, oh, he has a better chance to win a national championship at LSU in comparison to Ole Miss. Man, cut it out. I heard the same talking points for Brian Kelly when he left Notre Dame in the middle of their season. A lot of people talked about how LSU had more resources in comparison to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame didn't have the resources necessary to pull off a national championship run. And although Notre Dame hasn't won a national championship yet, they have been much closer to winning a national championship in comparison to LSU. Going to LSU doesn't necessarily make life easier. Like I said on yesterday's show, the grass isn't always greener. Lane Kiffin failed to understand that statement, or at least he failed to apply to understand that statement, because if he did understand that statement, then he would have never did what he did to Ole Miss. He basically backstabbed him, and then on top of that, he tried to coach them in the college football playoff. Like, no, that's not going to happen whatsoever. It was an absolutely arrogant question for Lane Kiffin to even ask the Ole Miss AD to do that. That's a sense of entitlement. Like I always say, entitlement is the disease to a football team, or in this case, entitlement is the disease to a coaching career. Lane Kiffin is going to pay the price for jumping ship on Ole Miss during one of their best seasons in program history. I also want to show you guys this clip of Adam Schefter making an absolute fool of himself and blaming Ole Miss for why Lane Kiffin did not come back to Oxford, Mississippi. Obviously, money was not an issue. Ole Miss was more than willing to pay up the money to keep Lane Kiffin on their coaching staff. Lane Kiffin, on the other hand, clearly wanted out of Oxford, Mississippi. It really doesn't get any clearer than that, but apparently to Adam Schefter, he doesn't understand that concept. Roll the film.
He was making $7 million a year at Ole Miss. What I don't understand from the outside is, why didn't Ole Miss step up and pay him? College football has become one big money grab. And to your point, Rex, would anybody in any line of work pass up a $5 million a year raise to move on somewhere else?
Is the man retarded?
Yeah, Adam Schefter is indeed retarded, or at least he acted retarded by making those statements about Lane Kiffin. First of all, if you're going to go ahead and defend Lane Kiffin, why don't you go ahead and actually look up information before making such a stupid take about Ole Miss? Everyone in the media at ESPN wants to keep blaming Ole Miss, Ole Miss, Ole Miss as to why Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss. Man, quit blaming Ole Miss when it was Lane Kiffin that tried to look for an exit out. Lane Kiffin was the reason why Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss. Stop blaming it on other people. Stop blaming it on external factors. At the end of the day, Lane Kiffin is a grown man, and grown men make their own decisions. I know Lane Kiffin doesn't want to act like a grown man, but he is a grown man. Lane Kiffin is damn near 50 years old, and he can make his own decisions. Again, Lane Kiffin comes off as lame Kiffin. It's really inexcusable, and there really is no defense for Lane Kiffin. I know a lot of people are going to call me a hater of Lane Kiffin, and you know what? I take pride in being a Lane Kiffin hater. I don't think it's healthy for people to support Lane Kiffin. I don't think it's healthy for people to want to see Lane Kiffin succeed at LSU, because if he succeeds at LSU, it represents everything that is wrong with college football. And you know what? I don't think Lane Kiffin is going to succeed at LSU. And think about it this way too. I'm going to make an NFL analogy. Imagine if Sean Payton left the Denver Broncos before the NFL playoffs started, and then he jumps ship to the Kansas City Chiefs because they fire Andy Reid and hire Sean Payton in an instant. Yes, I know it would never happen in real life, but I'm trying to make a point here. Obviously, if that happened, the Denver Broncos would not let Sean Payton finish the season for the Denver Broncos, because he essentially quit on their team to join their rival in the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they're not going to let Lane Kiffin finish the season at Ole Miss. Anyone that says that, oh, it's Ole Miss's fault for why Lane Kiffin didn't get to finish the season at Ole Miss, man, cut it out. This is not like Tulane in Florida. I understand that Florida, they hired a head coach very recently, and they're going to let John Sumrall finish out the season at Tulane, but that is a completely different situation. Tulane and Florida are not in the same conference. They're not even in the same region. Tulane is a group of 5 conference team. Meanwhile, for Florida, they are in the Power 4, and not only are they in the Power 4, it's the SEC. It's totally different comparisons in terms of apples to oranges. Obviously, what John Sumrall did is not exactly the greatest thing in the world, but you know what? It's completely justifiable, and that's why Tulane is saying, you know what? You have the right to finish out the season, and I can respect that. Lane Kiffin, on the other hand, went from Ole Miss to LSU. It's not like LSU is some random nobody in comparison to Ole Miss. Ole Miss' biggest rival is LSU. And I'm telling you what, the Ole Miss fan base is absolutely going to boo the crap out of Lane Kiffin next season, and I hope they do. He absolutely ruined what was a historic season for Ole Miss. And at the end of the day, when you're a college head coach, what is it about? Is it about you, or is it about the program and players? And it should be about the program and players. Lane Kiffin failed to understand that concept, just like he failed to understand that concept at Tennessee. That's why Nick Saban had to fire Lane Kiffin when he was a coordinator at Alabama, because he was distracted with other jobs. And it always seems to be a common theme with Lane Kiffin. Wherever he goes, he always has an eye out for the next job open. I thought that maybe he would have learned his lesson at Ole Miss after 6 years. Well, it turns out he hasn't learned a damn thing at Ole Miss. Ole Miss did the right thing in kicking Lane Kiffin out. I understand the system is completely broken, but you know what? Lane Kiffin has to be held accountable for his actions, and everyone has to understand that he grifted off a broken system. It's time to hold Lane Kiffin accountable. It's time to roast Lane Kiffin in the media, and I hope Lane Kiffin ends up being a failure at LSU. So that is why Lane Kiffin should be roasted more for how he left Ole Miss, as Lane Kiffin has proven to have several messy exits throughout his coaching career. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.